So today, just a few things. First, 1 week from today, you'll be delivering your final presentations, right? So just as a reminder, all the presentations, both the PowerPoint as well as the write-up and supporting Excel files, etc., are due 10 a.m. Monday, December 2nd, okay? So Wednesday, remember there's no class, it's a university holiday, happy Turkey Day, right? So next time I'll see you is a week from today on Monday. Monday morning, you turn in all of your files for your group project, both the writing and the PowerPoint. 3 teams will then present on Monday. The remaining teams will present on Wednesday. Okay? You will be here both days. All right, so again, just to underline, these 2 days, attendance will be taken both days. You have to be here for both days. As of right now, I only have one person that has an excuse to not be here for one of the days. The other 159 of you will be here both days. All right. Again, for those 2 days, when you come to class, for those 2 days, phones on vibrate or airplane mode, no using laptops or PCs. We're going to basically sit and professionally listen to the teams that are presenting, whether you're presenting or not. Also, both of those days, whether you're presenting or not, you will come dressed minimum business casual. Again, you don't have to be purely business attire. You're welcome to, but business casual both days, whether you're presenting or not, is a requirement for both of those days. Now, for the presentations, you'll be using the main computer in the room. You'll put up the PowerPoint. I'll have a laptop, iPad with a countdown timer of 20 minutes near the front of the room. So you'll see how much time you have, 20 minutes to make your PowerPoint. All members of the team must present. So in that 20 minutes, if you got 6 members, you can chunk it up however you want. You give somebody 30 seconds, but everybody has to present part of that PowerPoint. Okay. So again, the PowerPoint's worth 12 points, 3 points per section, 4 sections. The paper's worth 8 points, 2 points per section, 4 sections. Those will be graded independently. All supporting documents have to refer to numbers. Okay. Now, I've gotten some questions about what needs to be in the PowerPoint. So 2 things. First, in the announcements last week, I put up an announcement called Final Project Requirements. This is my grading schema. So in terms of the minimum requirements of what I'm looking for in the PowerPoint and the paper, this is how I'm going to grade you. And it explains what I'm looking for in each section. In addition, under the File section of ELMS, I put into a folder called Sample Presentations from the last 2 semesters. I put in 3 presentations that teams did that got perfect scores. All right. So I'm not saying that you have to use these exact templates, but if you want to see what was good in the past doing a similar presentation, these are 3 examples of good. So just very quickly, start out with Microsoft last semester. This is actually Harmon Gill, who's one of our TAs. This was his team. They did Microsoft. So again, just to give a sense of this, they did an agenda, they introed themselves. Very important to write all the names of your team members on who's delivering the presentation. A lot of companies did an overview of the company itself. It's not necessary, but there's some companies that people might not know a lot of, so just quick who they are, what they do. And then we got to our core points. Generally, I want you to start out with a buy, sell, hold opinion up front. Kind of frames the presentation. So Microsoft is a buy rating. At the time, the share price was $129.40. Our target is $140.21. We consider this a buy. Let's explain why. Okay. Then we go through the 4 sections. First one was EIC. That was the supporting data for the beta. That was their analysis, which they went through. Then they went through the industry spread. This is the industry spread. This is our definition of an attractive industry and why. Then they went through the company and why Microsoft had competitive advantage. And then they also talked about the 5 forces. So here's the 5 forces for today, which explains that spread. Here's the 5 forces in 5 years, which is why the spread will change in the future. And that was the EIC section. Now, recognize you're not going to have time to have somebody read all this information. All right, and I don't expect you to in the PowerPoint. Paper, you have a little bit more flexibility to write it out. So in the PowerPoint, they had the data on the slide, tell me what's important. So highlight, these are the 2 or 3 forces that are the most important that explain the spread today. And I'm going to explain to you why. These are the 2 or 3 forces that are going to change the most in the next 5 years. I'm going to explain to you why. Using numbers and references. So again, have the data there, but don't feel that you have to read every single word. You will run out of time if you try and do that. Okay. Now, next, they did the tree. Here's the ROIC tree, which they walked through. Here's the CFI. One thing that I liked about whoever did the CFI, they kind of highlighted the key numbers. So again, you're responsible not just for the beginning and end numbers, you have to talk about some trends in the middle. Okay. And so, for example, when I talk about I could ask you a Q&A question, here's the example. Microsoft's got 20 odd billion of goodwill in 2017. All right. If you don't tell me who they bought, I'm probably going to ask you, who did they buy? And I would expect you to know the answer to that question. Right. So again, this is an example where a question might come up. So if you see data that looks kind of big and odd, you can bet those are probably going to be the things I'm going to be looking at too. So try and know what the answers to those questions are in advance. Right. But nonetheless, that was the historical. For the comparables, this was the PE tab. Again, 6 companies. Right. Walking through the drivers that explain. You're going to explain 2 or 3 of them in terms of premium or discount to yours. So even though 6 companies are on here, you don't have to talk about every company. Okay, but the data has to be here. Same thing for the EV to EBIT multiples. Talk about 1 or 2, even though all the data is there. Then for the valuation, this was their as-is, key assumptions. This was their bear, key assumption changes. This was their bull, key assumption changes. This was their target, key assumption changes. This was their sanity check on the target. This was their sanity check on the bull and the bear. Okay, so that was what Microsoft did. Compare and contrast. This was Under Armour. So again, team, everybody's name, scrolling through, nice pictures of all the students. This was their buy, sell, hold recommendation up front. A couple words about the company, that was optional. Here's the EIC. This is where they got into the economic data and the industry analysis. This was the 5 forces. Now, they decided to give the data as a table rather than a screenshot. That's acceptable, right, for the PowerPoint presentation, as long as it matches the real data. Don't make stuff up. But other than that, same thing with 5 forces, current 5 forces, key issues, 5 forces change in the future, key issues, extra slide, CFI, analysis, ROIC. Now, what I liked about this team, with the person that went through the ROIC, they circled the things that were most important. So it was easier to follow them. Again, making sure you're using numbers along the way, but it was easy to follow them as they were walking through the presentation. They did that as a build slide. First level, second level part of the tree broken out. Okay, multiple analysis, again, what drives premium discount. Now, the reason I want to show you this one is they actually did the valuation slightly differently. What they did is they said, okay, here's the 4 models, and here were the key assumptions we made for each of the models, and they talked about how they changed up front. So they framed what they did in their bull and their bear rather than going into the detail. So I'm not saying what the Microsoft team was better or worse. I'm just giving you an alternative approach for doing this. So they just said, all right, here's the key drivers. Here's what we're changing across the model. Very clear in the tables. Then they went through model by model. All right, here's more detail what we did for our as-is. Here's more detail what we did for our bull. Here's more detail what we did for our bear. Here's our final target and why we did it. And then finally, here's our sanity checks. Again, they did those at the end. Right? But again, the other key is I'm also going through, did you cover all of the information? And are you basically explaining and connecting the dots across the 4 sections? Yes, sir.
Sure, so you can't go either way as long as we explain the numbers show that.
I can't tell you what the target is because it's your opinion. So you could have a hold, you could have a buy, you could have a sell. I don't know what your target's going to be, but that's the point. And by the way, I threw in one more for good measure. This was a company that did BMW. Again, nice little name of the team members. I think they all aspire to this car or something. I don't know. But again, their little agenda, their hold recommendation. Now, they did an EIC with a cutout of just the raw beta data of the screenshot, but at least the data supporting there. Again, EIC analysis. Now, what they did for the 5 forces is they just did the summary table and then explained it. Now, in the paper, which was graded separately, they didn't have time to explain it in summary, so they wrote it out. But they actually took the time in the presentation to explain what was important and gave me the highlights, okay, for the current 5-year, and then referred to the industry spread below. EIC, tree, CFI, summed out. This person actually broke out the key numbers of the slide. PE multiples again, EV to multiples, EV to EBIT, and then valuation, kind of a combination of the two. They went through and explained the key drivers on the slide, pulled them out as they were making the changes over time to explain each of the models, which then led to their target, which they also did the sanity checks based on all four models. Right? And again, if you want to throw in some comical pictures, you're welcome to do that. I know it'll be a late night putting some of these things together. But regardless, just kind of give you a sense of the presentations. So if you're looking for, I wouldn't say a template, but you're looking for some guidance on what to put together, you can use those for some inspiration. Okay, those are the PowerPoints. Similar detail in the paper, just very important in the paper. You're going to have 2 to 3 pages per section, writing out the explanation plus exhibits. You can either put the exhibits in line with the section, or you can put them in the appendix, but it's very important to have the supporting data. And in both paper and the PowerPoint, remember when you're presenting, use numbers in your presentation. Don't get in the mode to just say, hey, the ROIC went up because the tax rate was down, the margin was up, and the productivity was better. Right? That's not, at this point in the semester, going to be acceptable. You got to refer to numbers as you go through. All right. I'll pause. Questions about any of that? Hopefully pretty straightforward. Okay. So continuing on. So that is Monday, Wednesday. All this is turned in. We'll do our presentations. By end of day Wednesday, the Bloomberg trading simulation will end. So one of the things that's important is if you go here to the files section, for the Bloomberg first half results, look up your section. This is section 301. Make sure that you have 10 more longs than you did the first half of the semester, okay? Because that's the minimum requirement for the second half of the semester. So even if you did a lot of trade in the first half, you need 10 more in the second half than whatever this number is, right? So then you don't have to do anything to liquidate your portfolio. But the end of next Wednesday, I'll look at the rankings, do a screenshot, and then give the final grades for the Bloomberg simulation based on that. Okay. On or about Thursday, week from this Thursday, all the grades should be in. Now the TAs have all the final grading criteria. I've given them a prompt to hurry up and try and finish, and catch up with all the grades. But basically, they will decide who can opt out of the final exam. Okay, so we'll download the Canvas grading schema, right? We'll check against the criteria, and essentially we'll also apply the assignment replacement if you chose to do it, right? Now I did get a couple of questions from people earlier today that said, look, there's a couple of assignments that aren't graded. How do I know if I need to do the assignment replacement, right? If you're in that situation, treat it like an insurance policy. Do it regardless. All right, you may not need it, but here's the point. If you do the assignment replacement and you don't need it, you're still going to get some improvement in your grade based on the lowest grade. If you need the assignment replacement and you don't do it, and you find out after the fact, I'm not going to let you be able to do it. So if you think there's any chance you need the assignment replacement, finish the assignment replacement by next Monday. Okay, it's just a 500-word paper. But regardless, they'll put the assignment replacement in. They'll take your lowest score versus the highest points, give you the full credit, and then we'll check all the assignments to see if you can opt out. Approximately end of day Thursday, this is when it's going to be done. They'll then look at the opt-outs. Whoever was opted out, they'll take the full points for the final exam and they'll put it in as a grade. And then essentially next Wednesday, December 4th, is your final class. Okay, so the grades will be put in. Happy December. Thanks for being part of the class. You're done. For those of you that have to take the final exam, you will then come back and take the final exam on Monday, December 9th. I know that is not a problem for any of you because that is a regularly scheduled class. So the final exam for those of you that do not opt out will be very similar to midterm 2. Okay, so it's a cumulative exam. It's basically going to be qualitative content, and it's going to be something you'll take during class time for the class you're registered for on Monday, December 9th. You'll take it electronically. Right? You don't have to physically be here. It's an individual exam. So again, very similar to midterm 2, but you'll then take it online. Okay. Now, once you do all that, then grades will be posted, and then we'll do the grading check. Again, I'll mention this at the beginning of the semester. I'll remind you today, Elm's Canvas will mislead you towards your final grade. Because when we do grades, it's based on total points. It's not based on percentage of total. And the system that the university uses assumes 100 points. So when I put in more than 100 points, it's going to adjust everything to a percentage of total. Percentage of total is not what your grade is based upon. So what's going to happen is we're going to take the grading template, going to export it back to Excel. I'm going to sum up all your points. The total points equal your grade. So to get an A in this class, you need 93 total points. And there's probably going to be 105 or 106 available. You only need 93 of them to get an A. You need 890 of them to get an A minus. You need 87 of them to get a B plus. You need 83 of them to get a B, etc. Okay? So here's the other thing. Because I'm giving so much extra credit, I don't round. So if your grade is 89.75, that's a B plus. If your grade is 87.99, that's a B plus. The only way that you get an A at that point, I'm not rounding up, is to do a final extra credit. Okay? So sometime between December 9th and December 15th, okay, there will be a last extra credit. It'll be a plus or minus 2 to 4 points. I don't know how many points it'll be until the grades are all in and I see what the distribution looks like, but that is your final opportunity to improve your grade. Okay? So if you're interested in improving your grade, either because you want to go to the next level or you need to go to the next level, that final extra credit will be your final chance. And again, I don't know how many points it will be, but nonetheless, that will be the final extra credit that's available based on how everybody does on the group projects, final exam, etc. once the grades are in. So that is the last extra credit of the semester and your last chance to improve your grade. So I know that was a lot. Questions about any of that? Good news is we're coming to the end of the semester. I know, by the way, you know what the emails are going to start to say. Please do the review of the class, fill out the forms. You're going to keep getting harassed to do that. Also, I have a TA that's graduating. If anybody interested in being a TA, see me about next semester. And then finally, as I said, I'm going to give you the balance of time in just a minute to work on your group projects today and ask questions. But I want to make a quick comment about the assignment that was due today. So the final graded assignment that was due today was, in my mind, a pretty straightforward assignment. It basically just said, search for a company using the equity screening tool that has essentially a high level of productivity, a low IC to sales, and is growing at a reasonable rate, right? So I'm not going to really go through the answers because you can have many different answers, but basically the hint I gave in class is, start out with low productivity or low IC to sales, high productivity industries. That could have been consulting firms, that could have been tech companies. I mean, heck, if you looked at our assignment, it was a lot of the retailers. You just couldn't use the two that we did. Could have been some of the fast casual firms, but it's basically investment-like companies, right? And that's where we would have started. Obviously, you could have found some from the equity screening tool, but the reason for that assignment beyond using the equity screening tool is that at some point in finance, we have to start working both forwards and backwards. I mean, a lot of times we're told, here's a number, go figure it out. But it's almost like we should be able to think of it the other way, which is the assignment, meaning here's something I'm looking for, what companies or what decisions meet this criteria. And that was actually the point of that assignment, is to get you to work in the other direction and to start thinking about what industries, what companies could be capital light that are growing fast, as opposed to just starting with a company and then doing the analysis. The more that you can start understanding that second part and work backwards, the better your understanding of these concepts will be. So nonetheless, that was the point of the last assignment that we did. Okay? All right, so we have one more thing to do today. I assume you know what it is. It involves Fight Club. Because the first rule of Fight Club is not to talk about Fight Club. All right? But I know we violate that rule left and right here in that class. Because I told the earlier sections not to violate the rule, but I'm sure you've heard about what we're about to do. So what are we about to do?
Can I guess?
Yes.
Well, I saw in Elms there's an extra credit.
There's an in-class extra credit.
Okay, well,
So it is my belief, that's okay, it is my belief that there is a value in showing up. So for the people that are here today, there's an extra credit which you can do if you're in class. You won't be able to do it if you're not in class. So it's 1 point, but this is to get the 1 point of extra credit. Okay, so using your Bloomberg terminals, you have to do this individually. Find an industry that has, using operating ROIC as we define it in our class this semester, and with the custom field that you created, find an industry that has a negative spread. Take a screenshot of that industry. Upload that screenshot to Elms. That's the extra credit. No write-up, nothing else, just that screenshot. Operating ROIC against WACC as an industry average, market cap weighted average, as long as that's a negative spread, you get 1 point of extra credit for the semester. Okay, submit that screenshot by 4:40 this afternoon, technically the end of class. All right, but otherwise, you're welcome to work on it now. It should take you a few minutes. But again, you're looking for an industry that has a negative spread. So that's the extra credit for today. That'll be the last extra credit until the final extra credit, which will be, as I said, the week of December 9th, once all the points are involved in the class. Once you've done that, I'm going to give you the balance of time today to work on your team projects, and I'll be here to answer any questions and assist you as you have any challenges. All right, for those of you that otherwise don't need to do that, class will end early, get a little start on your Thanksgiving break. So happy Turkey Day, and then again, we'll be ready for presentations 1 week from today. Okay. That is it.